And welcome to Face for the Newsfirst team. I'm Niresh Eliathambi. I have with me this evening the Honorable Arun Hemachandra, Member of Parliament, and he is of course the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Employment. Good evening and welcome back to the show, Arun.
Good evening, Niresh. Nice to be back after a couple of months.
Right. So, of course, Arun, the Middle East war is dominating the headlines, and it is constantly in our thoughts because it is affecting every Sri Lankan and affecting, I think, every person around the globe. What is the situation as of today?
Well, first of all, thanks a lot for the organization and you for once again inviting me to this beautiful show. And I'm pretty sure that a proper communication should be made between the general public and us. So, I mean, I take this as a vital opportunity for that, very important communication that we are doing these days, and which is, it's a good opportunity to be back here after a couple of months. The situation is complicated than ever before, and this is something that is unprecedented. We are coming across new things taking place, and last couple of weeks have been really, confusing. New things are taking place, but the primary priority and the primary, the goal of the Sri Lankan government is to ensure that each and every Sri Lankans are safe in the Middle Eastern region. So far, 5 Sri Lankan individuals were injured, and luckily nothing beyond that. And we expect that the numbers would remain same. And we are in constant touch with the Sri Lankan community over there, especially with those who got injured. I personally called 4 people, and I was trying to contact the 5th one, but unable due to some network issues. But our consulate general, the office is in constant touch in Dubai. So things are moving on that direction. And on the other hand, we have a huge challenge to overcome the energy crisis that we have in front of us. And on the other hand, we have to maintain, we depend very hugely on the foreign remittance that we get from the Middle Eastern region. And when it comes to our foreign employment sector, last year we, received officially about $8.2 billion, which is, really vital to keep the stability of the economy. So far, we have not received any direct threats in terms of the remittance because many are working from home, and things are okay for now. And when we, once again, I would like to emphasize, we believe that the situation would, not escalate even further, and also, we believe that this would be brought under control as early as possible. So these are the challenges. So we have taken adequate measures from our ministry side in order to assure the safety and the well-being of the Sri Lankan community. We have got a special ops room in our ministry, especially in terms of the foreign employment and the consular related activities. So there is a special unit that has been established here, and also in all the relevant missions overseas, they also do work round the clock. So that arrangement has been done. And on the other hand, we are taking all necessary measures, and we are trying all possible methods to bring fuel into the country. So very luckily, it's very fortunate that we were able to bring in 2 ships within last couple of days. Certain shipments were cancelled, but on the other hand, we are looking forward to open new arenas, and we would like to collaborate and work with new companies. And yesterday, or day before yesterday, the tender was closed, and then new procurement opportunities were open for number of companies in terms of crude, in terms of diesel, petrol, furnace oil, in terms of aviation. fuel. So things are moving, and the government is highly committed to make sure that, and we are working really hard to make sure that this situation could be addressed in a very reasonable way. And also we urge the general public to act according to the situation, because we have reached a condition called new normal. So this new normal situation will be there for until this conflict situation would be brought into a very controlled situation. So for that we request the general public also to act responsibly.
Right. Now, when there's a war anywhere in the world, Arun, usually it's just two countries or maybe three, but in this case we see more than a dozen countries are affected in the Middle East, and our people, our Sri Lankans, are in I think all those countries. Is it a challenge for the foreign ministry to serve all these countries, or are our missions up to this challenge?
Well, of course it is a challenge, but that is why we are assigned for, and our diplomats are assigned for, and our members and our staffs in the embassies and the consul general offices and the high commissions are assigned for. So I do strongly believe that we have the capacity and we have the adequate team to address this issue, and so far they are doing a fantastic job. I would like to commend that. And also we have not received any huge number of complaints when comparing with the situation like this. Of course there are small issues time to time, because this is a very conflict situation, and this is something that is really unprecedented. But then again, when we look at the picture as a whole, I don't see any major threats as such for now, but there are challenges and we have to overcome these challenges, and we are well prepared to encounter these challenges.
Right. And what about the issue of air connectivity? Now, of course, flights which come across the Middle East are affected in a big way, and of course we know that it is affecting tourism to a certain extent, but does it create a further challenge for the foreign ministry as well?
Well, when it comes to our ministry, now our ministry is a larger ministry in terms of other relevant ministries aside from the foreign affairs. So now we have got the foreign affairs, foreign employment and tourism, all three coming under this big ministry headed by our Minister Honorable Vijitha Herath. So we have faced numerous confusing situations in the beginning, but then again now we have addressed each and every problems one by one. And once again I would like to commend the team, especially in the Ministry of Tourism. There's tourism, the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority and Tourist Board, and also when it comes to other line agencies, they are doing a good job, and also the private sector is also doing a very reasonable contribution in order to address these issues. So initially when it comes to the air connectivity, of course it's a huge challenge, and that situation is also highly evolving, because there is no standard set of I would say the timetables or the routine. So as per the emerging situation, the relevant aviation authorities in those respective countries are also changing the schedules and changing the rules and regulations. So we have to act according to that, because safety is the pinnacle of anything, and especially in the civil aviation sector. So our civil aviation authority is also closely working with those relevant civil aviation authorities, the airport managements. So we can see a couple of the aviation or the flight companies have started to operate between the Middle Eastern region and Sri Lanka. So we would like to see some progress in this regard, but then again, on and off, due to the prevailing situations, there are cancellations taking place. And also when it comes to the stranded tourists over here, we have made a couple of arrangements. Of course, we would like to once again thank the tourism, the private sector over here. They have done a fabulous job, and they have taken adequate measures to ensure that each and every tourist is well treated in this country due to this very unprecedented situation. And also we have informed those tourists to report to their missions over here. So they are also working very closely with us. And on the other hand, we have taken adequate measures when the air connectivity opens on and off maybe. We have taken adequate measures to send them back to their relevant countries. And also we have tried alternative routes, like when it comes to transit, some can take Istanbul, which has not been closed during this condition. So visa extensions have been given. So we have taken all adequate measures as per the global standards, and Sri Lankans are known for our hospitality. So without any hesitation, we have taken all necessary steps. And now the new problem in terms of the fuel supply, for that also we have taken adequate steps in order to provide constant fuel supply for the tourism industry. So this is something that is really important in order to maintain the pace of this sector.
Right. Now, we know that all countries are affected by this crisis, and we in South Asia, we are the nearest region to the Middle East. Has there been any discussion among the South Asian nations with regard to this? I mean, you are in constant touch with all of our neighbors, but any discussions which are going on?
Yeah, discussions are going on with the countries situated in the region, and regional cooperation is more important than ever before. And especially we had the IORA meeting recently. I was chairing because we had a center of excellence. We declared open a center of excellence, and even during the IORA discussion, we emphasized the importance of the regional cooperation and maintaining the calamity in the Indian Ocean region. And also the regional cooperation is really important when it comes to maintaining the supply chain, when it comes to repatriation. So there are numerous ways wherein the cooperation could be utilized in a very positive way. So we have constant discussions with all relevant countries, and but we are looking forward for the situation also to settle down.
Excellent. So any predictions about the settling down of this situation? And it has been now about nearly 3 weeks. What does it look like given your experience?
Well, primarily we are not party to this conflict, so we cannot directly comment anything on this. But then again, we urge all the parties to stick to the global standards and follow the international law, because this is not anymore relevant just for that particular region or the countries, those who are taking part in the conflict directly. This has become a pandemic now. This has expanded, and this is affecting the entire global supply chain and the stability of the world. So we once again urge all relevant parties, those who are involved directly and indirectly, to stick to the international law and follow the standards.
Right. Now, Arun, Sri Lanka, we all know, is very exposed to these external shocks because many of our industries depend on, for example, our tea industry has major markets in the Middle East. Tourism, we depend on Middle Eastern airlines to bring many of those tourists, and of course foreign employment and so on, apart from the oil supply as well. Any thoughts about how we can better prepare for this? I know it's very difficult to do, but Sri Lanka gets pushed around a lot by these external shocks.
Well, this particular situation is a little bit complicated. So, of course, we have to get prepared for market diversification, and because when it comes to our export basket, which is really towards one particular direction or maybe focusing on a particular region, so the diversification is something really important, but also that is a little bit of a time consuming, and as a government it's our responsibility to make sure that the diversification would be done within a very reasonable period. That does not mean that we divert from this market to other markets alone, but then again we have to also maintain some kind of a balance in terms of regions, because this is a good example for that. And also the energy security, we should not depend on one particular route or one particular region. There should be some kind of a diversification for that also. But as you know, Niresh, the geopolitics has become really confusing and complicated than ever before. Now, due to sanctions and due to limitations on trade, we also do not have much choices. So that also plays a vital role, in regards to the market diversification. So, but whatever it is, now we have undergone a certain shock here, but as a government we should be prepared, and we are prepared to go towards a diversification which is well within the global standards and the parameters.
Arun, do you think that due to this particular crisis, the other regions close by, South Asia, Southeast Asia, would this bring us closer together?
Well, there is a huge opportunity and potential for that. I would not say no, but there should be constant dialogues between us, and there are adequate dialogues already. But the regional cooperation is something really mandatory, and of course there are platforms like BIMSTEC, SAARC, and other relevant the multilateral fora wherein we can cooperate even further. So we are, there is Asian Cooperation Dialogue, and then we have got the IORA. So there are various organizations which are vital in bringing all these countries together, especially in the region. And so we look forward to get involved and make more reasonable participations in those relevant multilateral forums, because the multilateralism is something really, really important, and I'm pretty sure now this problem has paved a new path for us to become more closer than ever.
Now, Arun, Sri Lanka sits in a very key location in the Indian Ocean, especially with regard to search and rescue. We have a specific search and rescue area which is quite large, and we were called upon to rescue all those Iranian sailors who were in distress, and our Navy and our Air Force seem to have handled that very well. But do we need additional resources in order to carry out this mission of safeguarding the search and rescue aspects in this rather large region?
Well, that is, you have addressed the real point here. Now, for this, I would like to, and I need to talk a little bit of politics also, because now, given the scenario that we have a very huge exclusive economic zone, and also we are bound to follow a number of treaties, international laws, especially UNCLOS, and when it comes to the search and rescue, there are a number of agreements or number of MOUs that we have signed. So for that, definitely equipments and facilities do matter. But unfortunately, Niresh, the state of country that we received in 2024 in the latter part was not that prepared for such kind of rescue and search operations, and then not only within, not only within our territory, and also you must have experienced that during the Ditwa cyclone period, even within the territory of Sri Lanka, or maybe even within the land area itself. We did not have much resources to face similar situation. So now we are equipping ourselves with relevant gears, relevant the equipments, relevant aircrafts, relevant the Coast Guard cutters. So we are receiving a batch. We already received a number of Coast Guard cutters from US, and also we are about to receive one more Coast Guard cutter, and also there will be 10 number of Bell helicopters to be delivered in the upcoming weeks. So we are preparing ourselves, and especially when it comes to search and rescue, also disaster management, we need to have a proper setup in the country, and which is we are dedicated, and especially under the leadership of our president. He clearly mentioned that during his budget speech, especially during the last days. I think the last day of the budget, the committee stage debates, he clearly emphasized in regards to the plans that we have to develop the disaster management center, as well as the tri-forces in terms of the search and rescue. So this is also applicable for the areas which are above the land area of the country. So this is entirely applicable for the exclusive economic zones and the area where we are bound to as per the international law.
Excellent. We need to take a short commercial break right now. I am in conversation with the Honorable Arun Hemachandra, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Employment. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
Newsfirst අවුරුදු මෙවර කළුතර බූමුල ක්‍රීඩාංගණයේදී දවස පුරා බයිසිකල් තරග ගමහරහා දිවීම කොට්ටපොර ජනගී ගායනය අවුරුදු කුමරා කුමරිය ඇතුළු ජන ක්‍රීඩා රසක් සමග කළුගම් පුරවර සිරි අවුරුදු උළෙල අප්‍රේල් 18 වෙනිදා දවස පුරා සංවිධානය කළුතර දිස්ත්‍රික් ලේකම් කාර්යාලය ඇතුළු රාජ්‍ය ආයතන සමග සමනල ක්‍රීඩා සමාජය
වෙච්ච දේ කියලා මේ අක්කබයි මල්ලිබයි මොන ගස්සපා
යකෝ මගේ අක්කා උස්සන්න නැතුව එකක් තියා ඒකිට කෙනේ කියෙද්ද
මතක තියාගන්න සර් අපි තාම මේ වැඩෙන් ඉවර කරේ 3න් එකක් විතරයි තව 3න් දෙකක් එහෙම් පිටින්ම තියෙනවා
අද රාත්‍රී 8:30ට
Sirasa Telethirain.
Your afternoon starts with ABC on TV1.
One. World news, sports news, documentary. Stay informed, stay ahead. Every weekday, 12:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. ABC Afternoon. Only on TV1.
ඔබ දන්නවනේ මට කවදාවත් කේන්ති යන මිනිහෙක් නෙමෙයිනේ. හැබැයි ඉතින් මේ වැඩේ කරපු එක ආවොත් මට මේ වෙලාවෙ මරන්න උනත් පුළුවන්. අයියට විතරක් නෙවෙයි අයියේ මටත් උව මරන්න හිතලා තියෙන්නේ.
ඒ මොකක්ද අකී ළඟට වෙන්නේ? ආපහු අයියට ජොබ් එක ලැබෙන්නේ නැති වෙයිද? ජොබ් එක හම්බ වෙයි. එයා මහන්සි වෙන්නේ ඒකට.
ඔව් මට වාවන්නේ නැහැ තමයි. මම දුකෙන් ඉන්නේ. ඒ දුකින් මට නිින්ද යන්නේ නැහැ.
කොටෝ අද රාත්‍රී 9:30ට සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්
මේ විවාදය වයිල්ඩ් කාඩ් විවාදය.
මිනිස්සු බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ව්‍යාපදිංචි කරපු සීල් එකක් නෙමෙයි.
රියල් මිලියන 82කට වෙච්ච දෙයක් හොයාගන්න නැහැ. කොහොමද හිතවනුවේම හොදටම මුණ වෙලා තියෙනවා.
කීයටවත් අපි කිව්වද මේ විවාදය තුල උදව් කරන්න එපා නොමිනිසුන් වෙන්න.
ආපදාවක ලක්ුණෙන් පස්සේ මේක විධිමත් ආයතනයක්ද කියලා බල ඉන්නේ.
Sirasa debater with AAT Sri Lanka. ඉරිදා සවස 6ට.
මම මේක ලියාගත්ත දවසට මම මුලින්ම කරන්නේ බං උදේ රැවුලේ බෝසල පොලේ ගහන එක බං.
මොකද කොට පෑදෙන්නේ. මම නැවතිලා බලා ඉන්නේ. ඒ පොට පෑදෙනකම්.
කෙලීම ඒම් එක දීලා ජො කියපු ගමන් හරියට ටාගට් එකට ගිහිල්ලා පතිත වෙනවා.
එල්ක Morenko kalopan ko mamavilla.
අද රාත්‍රී 9ට සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්.
Welcome back to Face to Face. I am in conversation with the Honorable Arun Hemachandra, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Employment. Arun, now it strikes me that unlike in 2022 when we had the fuel crisis, which was not just a fuel crisis but a crisis of government, of governance, and a massive financial crisis, we seem to be much better prepared this time, although the common factor is of course that people panicked over fuel, but otherwise the country and the government seem to be much better prepared.
Well, Nadesh, it's a very good comment and a question on the other way. Now, frankly speaking, though we have fuel issues in the country at the moment, and there are a little bit of gas, the cooking, the LPG related gas related problem here. This situation is not entirely similar to the situation that we faced, let's say between 2 to 3 years back. That situation was purely due to the financial mismanagement, corruption, and the bankruptcy that was the outcome of those corruption and financial mismanagement. During those days, we had hundreds and hundreds of ships passing by Sri Lanka. The fuel were, being refined. There were no problems for any supply chains. There were no disruptions, and the world was functioning very in a very normal manner. But the only problem that we had was that we did not have the ample dollars or the foreign remittance or the foreign exchange to purchase the relevant goods or maybe some services. So we had fuel crisis, we had gas shortages, we had very severe drug shortage in the hospitals or in the medical stores. We had milk powder issues. So those were purely due to the economic situation that the country underwent. But this situation is something really different, but certain sceneries seem to be similar, because whenever there is a fuel shortage in the country, there are queues and crises that are led by those things. But in this given scenario, we don't have any the foreign exchange crisis here. We are well prepared, and we have ample savings in the treasury. All of us got together, especially starting from the president, prime minister, our cabinet ministers, we deputy ministers, the member of parliament, our chairpersons in the local authorities, our members, our governors. All of us got together, and we had made lots and lots of savings. And also, on the other hand, we have to also commend our state officials. So due to the result of a very proper teamwork, we were able to build a very stable economy. And on the other hand, our export income was tremendous last year. The foreign remittance surpassed 8.2 billion USD. And on the other hand, when it comes to the customs revenue, excise revenue, inland revenue, so all these revenues were way beyond the par expectations. So even the IMF chief who visited a couple of weeks back clearly emphasized these things. And also when it comes to the Ditwa, of course there was a shock due to Ditwa, the natural disaster that we had to face. But then again, despite of all those things, we were able to manage a very stable country. So that stability was the main reason for us to face this problem in a very calm and quiet manner. So there are lots and lots of homeworks that had been done in the past, and as a result of those things, we are able to face this shock, and also we will be able to face these kinds of shocks in the future. But of course, in future when we plan such things, we have to plan way beyond the standards, because the standards keeps on changing. So now we have got these unprecedented, highly evolving things taking place in the world. The management that we were able to do were based on the status of the country that we received 1.5 years back. But now we cannot go further with the same standards. So given that, we have to focus more on the energy security. Of course, we have to increase the number of terminals. The capacity of our terminals has to be definitely increased, and also there should be a diversified the energy supply chain that has to be maintained. So we are preparing, and we would like to go to the next steps in the upcoming starting the upcoming months itself.
Now you mentioned the devastation by Cyclone Ditwa, which was truly horrific back then in November and December. Tell us about the progress of recovery, and I know your district, Trincomalee, was also badly affected, not as much perhaps as the up-country districts, but are you happy with the progress made?
Yeah, the progress are being made in a very stable manner. The roads are being reconstructed, and then when it comes to the immediate response, the quick response, we were very successful on those things. Especially we were able to save our district without any human loss, right? And that was our main intention. And we had frequent meetings, because we had a DCC, district coordinating subcommittee for the disaster management, wherein we were able to successfully overcome the Ditwa disaster. But of course there were drastic loss to many infrastructures and livelihoods. So we step by step we are handling those things also. The farmers have got their compensations, and the livestock breeders have got their compensations. I think Trincomalee district was the district which got the highest amount of compensations in terms of livestock, because whether the entire Mahavali, the basin, that the water came through Trincomalee, which reached the Bay of Bengal. So we had numerous challenges, but immediately we responded. The water supply were re-established, and the electricity disruptions were immediately quickly addressed. So we were able to address all those things, but now the next step is we have to bring back the country to a situation, or we have to build this country to a point where which is better than how it used to be. So we are working hard on that, and unfortunately now we have this problem coming up. And of course, Niresh, we as a government, we should understand that these things don't come with prior notice or prior advancement. We should understand that we have to be prepared for any devastating situations, so that we will be able to encounter those problems.
Now, this government has faced some extraordinary challenges, which were not man-made, not made by Sri Lankans, because in the past we seem to have made our own problems, whether it was the 30-year war, or the insurgencies, or the financial bankruptcy. There were problems which we Sri Lankans and our ruling parties invented ourselves. But this government has faced Cyclone Ditwa and now this Middle East crisis. How confident are you of this government's ability to deal with these external crises?
So I believe that the people are with us, because we day to day we feel that the people are commenting positive in regards to this government, because they can compare and contrast us with the previous administrations in the country, how they were addressing may not be similar situation, but something you can compare devastating situations, especially when it comes to the COVID, when it comes to the Easter attacks, or when it comes to the conflict that were long lasting between the ethnic communities in this country, or the economic situation, the corruptions that took place, the financial mismanagement, and the bankruptcy. So this is something that the people also do understand, and I would clearly state that, Naresh, the people of Sri Lanka are highly politically educated, and they understand the day-to-day things taking place all over the world than ever before at present situation in this country. So the level of political education, or the level of the current affairs, is much higher. So they now, especially with what happened in the country, around 3 years back, with the mass protests, and then the people went on searching for the root cause of all these problems, and so not anymore the politicians were able to divert the mindsets of the people. So things kept on changing. So likewise the politicians evolved in this country. Now we can see that the people also are evolving, and they understand the situation. And yesterday, or day before yesterday, when the president addressed the nation, right, people accepted. And all what we had to do is we had to give that leadership. The people know that these are not man-made, or these are not made by the Sri Lankans, I would say. Of course, these were man-made, but not directly involving Sri Lanka. But then again, without the support of the people, also we cannot get this done. So the prime credits go to the people, because they understand the situation. They know that this is affecting the entire global communities, And also they know that the government is taking adequate and reasonable steps to overcome these crises. So, we believe that subject to all the resources, all the contacts, all the necessary lifelines are being used, we would like to make sure that the energy security will be assured in the country. Of course, there may be small adjustments, small amendments. We may have to limit certain things, but so far we don't have any plans to go for the electricity, the disruptions or any temporary disconnections. But we would like to make sure that subject to the preparedness that we have made so far, we will be able to overcome this situation in a very reasonable manner, and definitely we need the support of the general public to overcome this crisis.
Right, we are almost out of time, unfortunately, but I'd like to ask one final question with regard to the Middle East crisis. Now, there seems to be a great reluctance on the part of the warring parties to even talk to each other. They keep denying that they have even asked for any negotiations or conversations, and that is a terrible situation, because even when a war is going on, there have to be open channels in diplomacy. You can have armies fighting, but the diplomats, the negotiators need to talk to each other at all times. Given the fact that they refuse to even talk to each other, is there a role for other organizations, perhaps the Non-Aligned Movement, NAM, or other organizations which could bring some pressure to bear or act as go-betweens in this?
Well, I would say that the United Nations do have a very reasonable role. They have to play a reasonable role, and that is why the United Nations were formed. So, in order to maintain a rules-based order in the world, it's really important to make sure that the United Nations play a very reasonable role, and this particular incident is also a place wherein their interventions and their mediations are really important. So, but as you know, Naresh, the world orders or the global geopolitical arenas are highly evolving, very frequently changing. The situations are not similar to how it used to be in the past. So, there is an imbalance. So, meaning to say, when very powerful countries fight, it's not anymore a war between those countries. It's also we who get affected indirectly by such situations. So, once again, we urge all the parties to stick to the relevant standards and follow international law, and also we do urge the United Nations to take adequate steps in order to bring calamity in the region, and also make sure that the supply chain and the distribution in the non-conflict zones are also fulfilled.
Wise words indeed, and I do hope that those who need to hear those words would listen. Thank you very much, Arun Hemachandra, Member of Parliament and Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Employment, for joining us this evening.
Thanks, Dinesh, and hopefully would like to meet you in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and until we meet again.
Thank you very much, and thank you to you at home for watching. Don't go away, because the news is coming up next. Have a great evening.